Up,
All
I'm
right.
curious. Do you
Go ahead.
guys leave a copy of your listing presentation with prospects, or do you present it and then hold on to it?
I kind of do a little bit of both. So I do, depending on the situation, if I know that they are just going with me, I'll leave them with everything. If I know that they're shopping around and potentially not going with me, then, I don't leave everything. So like I have a staging guide and I have some other stuff that I'm not leaving all of that with them. I'll leave them with the CMA or like, the comps or whatever. Like I actually have two kind of guides. I got away from doing this because it was kind of silly to have two different guides for things, but I have like kind of a generic, like getting your house ready for listing that I would leave. And then the more detailed one that had a lot more like, bullet points and things to do. That's for when they list with me. So I would usually say like, I'm going to go over all this with you. And then once you're ready to sign the listing contract, I'll make sure that you have copies of all of this stuff. But, I'm sure as heck not about to leave all my good stuff with people. Although I've heard, I don't know, like I was in, Krista Mayshore coaching and she leaves all of her stuff. Christine, right? She leaves all of her stuff, like all the marketing, everything. So, I mean, I guess it just depends on your mentality around it. Mine is I don't want to leave a bunch of stuff because I have done that. And then you feel like you're wasting the stuff if they don't go with you. Now you've potentially another agent's gotten all your stuff
That's
and
my concern.
they have all your marketing, which I mean, to be honest, like, does that really matter so much? No, somebody's probably not going to recreate everything that you've done, but
Right.
I'm in the middle of revamping some of my stuff for my listing presentation as well. So when I get done with some of my stuff, I'll share with you guys, but I'm kind of revamping and rebranding and stuff. So all right, Nikki, are you ready to rock?
I am. All right. So let's start with how to prepare for your listing presentation. So I don't know about you guys, but when somebody calls me and they want me to come give them an idea of what their house is worth, it's kind of hard to put a number on it when I've never been to their house. So, and if it's never been in the MLS before, if it's been in the MLS before, then you can kind of get a little better idea of knowing when they bought the house. There's usually pictures in there from what it looked like previously. So you can kind of gauge. But if it's never been in the MLS and they give you very limited info, I know that I don't feel comfortable meeting with them and throwing out a number because it's very arbitrary. What I like to do beforehand is get as much information from them as possible. And that helps me prepare for our meeting. So I usually send them a listing questionnaire that has to be filled out before we meet. And it's very brief, but it asks the appropriate questions to be able to assist me in, preparing a comparable for them. So questions I ask, and I do this all in Google Forms. So what updates have been completed since owning the home? And usually people will forget a ton of stuff. They don't think about paint or anything like that. They'll just think of major stuff. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your home? This helps me see kind of where they think that their house is. Do they know that it's a 4 or do they think that it's a 10? What would be an acceptable selling price to you? Some people leave this blank because they don't want to provide any info, and that's fine. But the people that do fill it out, when I'm pulling the comps and I see, okay, they think that their house is worth 500,000, but I'm not finding a single comp over 350. Now I know that they're, completely unrealistic. So how am I going to address that when I'm going to discuss price with them? Now it could go the opposite way and they think their house is worth 200 and it's actually worth 350. But again, asking that question helps you prepare for what kind of mindset you're going to have when you go into the appointment. What do you currently owe on your mortgage? Man, I did not type this right. Oh, not own. Oh, on your mortgage. I use this information to do the seller net sheet so that I can show them approximately how much they're going to be walking away with at the end of the sale. So it'll also break down because they always ask, okay, well, what will that leave me with after closing costs and realtor fees? All that net sheet breaks it down. How did you hear about me? That's always important to know so you know who to thank. And which of these is more important to you? Holding out for top dollar or quick sale? Also, that tells you their motivation level. Does anybody else do a questionnaire or anything like that before they meet with anybody?
I do. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Bill, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was just saying, I do mine on that initial meet.
When you're there?
Yeah, I like
Okay.
this stuff because we typically do a two-step, see the home, visit, get the information, come back and present CMA.
Okay.
But I like this on a one-step. This really speeds it up.
Well, and a lot of people just, when they ask you to come over, they want to know, like, well, what's the price? What's the price? So, okay.
I
Next
do. So
one.
I have something similar. A lot of these questions I do ask at my listing appointment, like when I'm there, but
Yeah.
I do, so I do a like homework that they have to do for me. So we talked about it before. I ask for homework. So I have like same questions. My questions also go into, and maybe you're going to get into this in some of your stuff later, but like who's the gas company, who's the water company, who does this, how much is your estimate, like what's an average cost for your home, like for your gas, electric, things that like people are going to want to know. Same thing with things that are not on the disclosures. Like in our disclosures here in Michigan, they don't ask for the age of the water heater. They don't ask for the age of the furnace. It's on there, but people don't always put down the age. So if I can get the ages of those appliances or mechanicals, that's really helpful. Or if they know like how old their sump pump is or well pressure pump, a lot of people, that's not on the disclosures. So if we can have that information up front, it's something that's really helpful for the buyers down the road. And then you're not bugging them with questions a million times for things like that.
So I usually ask them those questions after they decide to list with me. Just because, I mean, I don't really need to know it until then. I can tell if it's old or if it's newer, just by looking at it to give
I
them a
think
rough idea.
my mindset is if they fill out and do all the homework, they're probably going to go with me. Like,
True.
That's what I was gonna say.
yeah,
If they
if
go
they,
that
Yep.
way, they've answered it. They don't want to answer all those questions again for somebody
right.
else. It's
Yeah.
like, oh no, we've already been through all this. Let's do the listing. Let's go forward.
Yeah,
With one
it's,
caveat,
I've
the-
never had somebody who did all the homework and then didn't list with me. So
Yeah.
that's my thought on it. All right, go
That's
ahead.
a solid point. Now, do you send them, how do you send those questions? You do it when you're there or what?
So once I get off the phone with them, so I schedule the appointment, I do ask them a bunch of questions on the phone, like, what their plan is, just kind of the normal questions that you ask. And then
Yeah.
I say, okay, I'm going to send you over some homework. You don't have to do it all, but it would be ideal if you had most of this stuff done by the time I get there. So I send blank
Got it.
seller's disclosures. I send getting your house ready for listing. Like, so it's got like some, decluttering, like some like bullet points on some things that they need to do. It asks about information about the house, information about the neighborhood, updates they've done. Is there a security system? Are there any exclusions? Like it asks a lot of questions. So it kind of gets their mind going. So if they have all that stuff done, chances are like they're going to go with me. They're not going to go and
Sure.
interview a bunch of other agents because obviously I'm stepping up. I'm giving them all this information up front and collecting a bunch of information from them. So
Sure.
I think it does one of two things, and well, both things actually, is not only does it like show that you like to prepare and that you're going to take this serious, but I think it also eliminates some of the overwhelmingness that can happen at a presentation where like you have tons of information and already enough other questions. So if I can break that up into like 2 sessions where you're answering these questions ahead of time and taking that little bit off of the overwhelming of when you're actually there in person, I think that's a great call.
yeah, I agree.
I agree. Okay, so I just made a note so that, because I like that idea. Okay, so what to take with you. So I have a folder and it's a branded folder. And in there, I have my listing guide. And what's inside of that listing guide is a self-introduction of myself, some local housing market data. And what I do with this listing guide is I present it to them. An explanation of the home selling process. So I walk them through what the process looks like with me, an explanation of the pre-listing work needed to be successful. So when I first go to that appointment, I have them do a walkthrough with me, and I kind of take notes as we go, ask questions, and then at the end of that, I'll sit down with them and go over all of this stuff with them. So the explanation of the pre-listing work would be, what I took notes on while I was there. A detailed pricing strategy. So I go over my pricing strategy, my marketing strategy, and what makes it better than others. So I walk them through exactly what I do for marketing. Expectations for each part of the process. I think that is really important to cover in the beginning so that everybody is on the same page. I discuss my negotiation strategy and the value proposition and success record. So all of that stuff is in that listing guide. And I do leave that folder with them when I leave so that they can go back and review it, whatever they would like. I also have a how to prep your home for sale info booklet type thing. So it is like the generic what sellers need to do to best prep their home for sale. So it talks about decluttering, it talks about staging and pet smells and stuff like that. I have found that if I walk in there and the house smells like pets, it has a bunch of pet stuff all over, or it's super messy, I will walk them through how to prep your home for sale guide and definitely emphasize those pages. And it kind of takes the sting out of it because then I'm not just saying, oh yeah, your house stinks, or, I'm showing them that this is common for any seller, but really emphasizing, the importance of why neutralizing scents is important and why decluttering and starting to pack up your stuff now is important so that, new buyers can visualize their stuff being in this home and it doesn't, reflect the sellers.
Like the worst too, I'll tell people too, like if you think your house, like if we smell something, like please do not put a whole bunch of Glade plugins in here.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the most atrocious smells. Like it's fine if you have one, but
Right.
like 5 in a house, like you're tasting it when you leave. It's awful. I hate
It's too overpowering. I usually will tell people if you do a Glade plug-in, do like a fresh laundry scent
Yeah.
so that it smells clean and not like artificial flowers or something else like that. So I also include a packet of comps. So it's a booklet that I create that goes over, 3 to 4 different comparables of what's sold in the last 180 days, if possible. I then bullet point the differences and the similarities between the two homes and include pictures so that they can get a much better idea of, okay, this comp was priced 50,000 higher than yours. However, it's completely updated versus yours, or not per se. And then it goes through discussing price per square footage and all of that. I include the seller net sheet so that they know their bottom line. And usually this is, I'm not giving them an exact number, I'm giving them a range. So I will usually do the seller net sheet right in the middle so that they have a rough idea. And then examples of my marketing. So most people I found are visual learners. So it's important to wow them with your marketing. So if you've done this really cool listing video, I would show them the video so that they can see it and then explain to them where you're promoting that video at. How will people see it? If people aren't on Facebook or social media, is there someplace else that this is going to be advertised at? Any info that you can provide them with to show your value it's important that you do that.
I have a whole folder that I bring of all of my marketing stuff. So whether it's brochures or flyers or mailers or I always do. So my whole thing when I go to houses, I say, I'm going to give you, there's going to be 2 different things we're going to have at your house. If I have enough time, I'm going to print really nice booklets out. Those take a
Mhm.
little bit more time. If I don't have time for that, then I'm going to do a flyer. The flyers I can get from Staples and they're like $30. So I can print those out. I can have those like next day. Booklets, I mean, if you have a nice printer, you can do them yourself, but I was ordering them from a company that always took much longer than I anticipated. So I need to find a new one. But I always say I'm going to have something for people who want to walk away with something tangible in their hands. Like a lot of
Mhm.
people like to hold something and look at it. And then there's other people who are more like on the younger side who don't want any paper. They just want a QR code. So I have a QR code that I put on on the tabletop in an acrylic frame that says like more information, disclosures, click here, or, like scan here. So then they can open it up. My company who does my photos, window still photography, they do they give you a 1-page website that was not even 1 page. It's like a nice custom website
Mhm.
for your listing. And you can add your disclosures, you can add your layouts, you can add anything you want to it. So I have this custom website for everything. It's got all the photos, all the information about the house, everything there. And then those people who don't want to take anything, they can just scan it. Or I have an option for those people who want to walk away with something.
I love that. I'm making another note.
And people love that. Like
That one's actually really cool.
my clients all love that because they're like, yeah, because I really want to take something when I leave a house, or I want to walk around and look at something. And then I'm like, right. And then some people don't want to do that. They just want it on their phone. So
Yeah.
we're going to hit both markets here. I don't want one over the other here.
Yeah. No, and I didn't realize that you can upload that stuff to Windowsill's
You can.
website. So
Pretty
that's
awesome.
awesome. Yeah. Okay, so now that we kind of covered what to bring with you, now we're going to go into once you're there. So it's important to understand their needs, their motivation, and what their concerns are. So I hear this all the time that sellers are super turned off when the listing appointment is just centered around the listing agent, that all they do is talk about themselves. Of course, they want to know what you can do for them, but they also want to know that their needs are being met. So how can you meet their needs if you're not asking about them or listening to them? So listen actively during your initial consultation and find out what matters most to them. Find out why they're moving, who, if they're relocating, what's taking them there. Asking them questions that you can uncover what their goals are. If somebody is relocating, say, to Florida, okay, are they going to be purchasing a home in Florida? Do they need an agent down there? Can you hook them up with somebody to make their move a little bit easier on them, because you know that you have a trusted agent that you can refer them to. And just really, once you have a handle on what their needs are and what their situation is, then demonstrate your commitment to addressing those specific needs and how you're going to do that. Okay, so then since you know what their needs are, you can kind of then tailor your presentation to those needs. So if I see that um, you know, these potential sellers are really into social media. Maybe they are maybe they do branding. Who knows? I'm definitely going to highlight everything that I do on social media that is going to be beneficial to them to hire me to sell their home. Um, what else do we have? Customized. So while I have already prepared all of these, the folder with the different guides in them, when I'm presenting those to them, I'm going to, possibly skip over some pages that they can read on their own, but really address the things that I think would be most important to them. Okay. I think it's also important, but you know, I don't know that you necessarily want to talk about it for hours, but highlight your expertise. So have a page in there in your listing packet or whatever you provide that showcases your experience, your qualifications, include some testimonies. And usually what I do is I show them where it's at in the book. And I say to them, okay, obviously you already know who I am because you've reached out to me. This is additional information on my education, awards, what have you. Feel free to review it, you know, at your leisure. But I do, and I think this is going to be very important moving forward, let them know of any certifications that I've gotten, why I decided to get them, and how those certifications help to make me a better agent and provide them with more value than maybe somebody that doesn't have them. I have a page of why choose Nikki Wolf. So it goes over, you know, I provide professional photos for every listing, video, the different websites that I use. I just kind of write it all in there so that if they care, they can look through it. But, you know, a lot of people don't do half of this stuff. Okay, so this is an example of different pages that are in my listing guide. So it does have the testimonials. It talks about the formula for a successful home sale. So I kind of walk them through what determines the price of their home, where I'm getting that information from, that I'm not just pulling it out of thin air and I'm like, hey, yeah, your home is worth 300,000. That, you know, I'm very strategic with how I price homes, and I want to make sure that we're not going to have an appraisal issue down the road. So I kind of educate them on that. I have some checklists in there and then some photos that were taken from my photographer. Okay. This is what the market analysis looks like. So when I provide them with comps, this is roughly what my comp packet looks like. So I discuss with them how, you know, some of the homes are selling for anywhere between $67 a square foot and $173. So then they can see the range is very large here. I discuss what I feel that their home should be listed at. Now, this one I gave a specific number, so I must have already felt like they were listing with me, because usually I'll do a range. I let them know what appraisers look for, because most sellers don't understand the appraisal process. They don't understand that, hey, if somebody offers 100,000 over, but they don't do any kind of appraisal gap, if the house doesn't appraise, they could get released from the contract. So really educating them on that, educating them on things to keep in mind when pricing the home. What else do we have here? I show them what the list price was and what the sold price was of the comparable listing. So then they can have, again, a better idea. Are things selling for over? Are things selling for under? What have you. Nicole, how do you set up your comps?
So well, it depends. So it depends on the situation. If there are a lot of comps, then I will sometimes like just print out the whole sheet or of comps, and I'll do like a short view, and I might, like, depending on, it really depends. So it could be,
Okay.
I might have multiple and I might put notes like this one has a finished basement. This one has a walkout. This one, like, your kitchen is more updated than this one. Like, I'll put little notes on the side.
Sure.
Go back one really quick.
Yeah. That
So,
one?
yeah, so I do, like, yours is way prettier than mine. I'll be honest, way prettier. I do mine more so, like, I just print out the MLS sheet sometimes. If there's a whole bunch, sometimes I'll do the CMA and I'll do it with all the photos and I'll have it as a PDF on my computer and I'll open it up and we'll go through it together. So it
Got
just
it.
depends on the situation of the house. if there's like really hard comps to find, you know, sometimes I'm on, like, I shouldn't say sometimes, I'm always honest with my clients and say, listen, you know, this is a hard property to comp. We're going to have to like dig a little deeper here. You know, we might have to look at some other options. So like, it just depends on the situation. I also don't necessarily go to every listing with a price in mind. So
Okay.
sometimes I would do kind of like what Bill was saying, like a two-step where I'll do some research before I go to the listing appointment, see the house, see what needs to be done, see the, you know, how things look in the house, and then say, okay, let me go back and look at the other comps and we'll come up with a better price point.
Mhm.
I will ask them if they have a range in which they think that they want to sell in. Most times they're going to say they don't have a number. And then when you tell them a number, they're going to have a different number in mind. I'm like, oh, didn't think you had it.
Right, right.
And then, but I'll usually come up with some sort of idea. If somebody tells me like, you know, oh, I know my neighborhood, like this is exactly where we should be, then I will say, okay, let me see if I can find comps to justify that. So then they know that I'm working on their behalf. Like I want to find I want to find houses that will justify that price point. If I can't, then we'll talk about why I think that pricing might not be the best. Or I might say, okay, you know, we can try this, you know, well, you know how it is, like the way we have to kind of word it, like we'll try it first and see. But obviously I also explain every single thing. My spiel goes, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what the house is going to sell for. I don't know how the market is going to react to your listing. We may have, you know, 30 showings, we may have 3. It just depends on the market. So my job is to market your home the best that we possibly can, which you're going to get into marketing in a minute. But my job is to market the property the best that I possibly can to try to help get as many eyes on this property as possible to help you get the best price that we possibly can. So
Well, and depending on when you meet with them to when they're thinking about going on the market, the comps are going to change too. So, you know, if they're like 90 days out, obviously you're going to relook at comps again before listing it to see if anything's changed.
And that's something I've brought up at listing appointments too, is like, hey, right now, nothing's active. So whether it's pending or whatever else. So if you were to list next week, you have a huge advantage. You're the only one in the neighborhood, right? You
Right.
have a little bit more power as the seller. And we can list at this price, but then keep in mind, as soon as somebody else goes on the market, you know, if you're at 450 and they're at 4.25, like we might need to justify that. You know, we might have to
Yeah.
wait out the pending of their house before we get our price.
Absolutely. And it's always nice if a comp sells and it's, you know, higher than what you were thinking. So now you can use that as a comparable. That's always nice. All
I was
right.
gonna ask, when you do the CMA sheet that you printed out, I see that you put like all sold. Do you do any active listings as well?
I do. So there's another sheet that will say comparable listings that are active, and I'll put those on there as well.
And usually like about 3, or it just depends?
Usually it's about 3.
Okay.
Yep.
You know,
So,
you're,
because I think it's important to show them what their, you know, competition it looks like. Because if a house is listed for, you know, $50,000 less than what we were thinking at going in at, and it's more updated, then that's going to be an issue.
that's where your questionnaire comes in handy though, Nikki, because at the very beginning, you already talked about what's your motivation. Is it price or time? What's moving you to sell? And if we list it here and then somebody else comes in and competes, they might be substituted so we can compete on price to meet your timeline. And so you can always, you're layering all that stuff in ahead of time.
Yep.
That if that
Yeah.
does come up, like Dan's talking about, then it's like, hey, they come on the market, they're brand new, they're 425. Let's go to 420 or 419. Let's be better than by just a little. We just
Yep.
know that that's something we couldn't control, and we want to sell first. There's only one buyer in that range. We want that buyer.
Absolutely.
And you might even be able to, you know, if it's something that's already active, you know, I didn't get her name, but her question is like, especially if you have somebody who, you know, maybe they're rating a 10 and it's like, you're like a 7, and like, let's set up a showing. Let's show you, you know, I mean, we all know that pictures don't do justice when we see houses, you know, with buyers. Like, hey, let's set up a showing. Let's see what that house looks like. And it's going to be helpful in one way or the other. You know, maybe it's pristine and it helps you kind of set that expectation of like that declutter conversation. Or maybe it's not, and it helps kind of set the expectation of like, okay, this is what the price point is asking for.
Right. So again, doing that research ahead of time and then being able to visually show them the research that you've done. So you're not just saying, oh, that's going to be overpriced. You are showing them specifically why it's going to be overpriced and what you're comparing it to.
Smart.
Okay, so marketing strategy. So this is, let's see here. That was just a video.
That was really well done.
So I've been doing more agent on camera videos. I started doing them just to kind of add to my marketing portfolio, but I've found that they do get a lot more views online. I've been putting them on YouTube, and I have actually found buyers outside of the area that found the video and they came to the open house or scheduled a showing or what have you, just because of the video. And so I see that they are working and they're pretty effective. So I do provide that information in to the sellers when I'm meeting with them, and outline my marketing plan and show them the examples of the different videos that I do, not just digital marketing but print marketing. If I'm going to be sending out postcards, where am I sending them out to? What is the message that I'm creating? If I do a open house, I usually a day or two before I will canvas the neighborhood and let the neighbors, I'll hand them a invitation sheet that goes over the listing property, what the price is and all of that, and invite them to the open house. And it says, help me pick your new neighbor or something. So getting the neighbors involved, because they may know somebody that wants to move to that specific neighborhood, and neighbors are nosy. So of course they're going to want to see what their neighbor's house looks like and what they're selling it for. So, I try to hit every market, whether they're digital, print, what have you.
And neighbors list their properties too.
And what was that? Yes.
Neighbors will list their properties too, so they see your stuff and it's like, oh, let's talk.
Yes. Yeah. And wow, she came by and actually personally invited me. I've had a lot of those, which was nice. I figure it's more eyes on the property. It definitely can't hurt. And then send them a postcard afterwards, so they're seeing you multiple times.
Yep.
Okay. So, professional presentation materials. Again, this is just talking about, some of your marketing materials. So as you can see, all of my marketing material, whether it's digital or print, all it all coordinates together so that people know, what to expect from me. So everything's visually appealing. I try to do it very professionally, but the important details are highlighted. Okay, budget-friendly staging tips. So if the seller is currently living in the home and they plan on staying there, what I usually will do is provide them with suggestions on how we can use what they currently have to, make the home look more inviting, possibly. Maybe it requires rearranging furniture, moving some furniture from one room to the other, just to kind of give it a more welcome feel, and so that people can see that the space is utilized to the best of its ability. Now, I have a design background, so this typically comes a little bit easier for me than most. But I also like to highlight that as well. If the home is empty, I do provide light staging with all of my listings at no additional charge. So with that, I will show them before and after, and I should have put that in here and I totally forgot, but before and after photos of what the house looked like empty, and after when I staged it, so that they could get an idea of what it is that I can do for them that doesn't cost them anything. If it is a, super large house and it requires full staging, then I will let them know. I'll show them pictures of what that looks like with my stager, and I will let them know that that is an additional charge, and why I feel like they should go that route.
Do you cover the cost for staging if you have to do a whole house stage, or do you split it? Like, what is your stance on that? How do you do it?
I have not covered it. That was on the sellers to cover it. Yep. And that's just how I've done it in the past. I'm not saying that that won't change, but that's how I've done it so far.
So
Our
I've heard an interesting
Our
thing.
commissions are just very low here. That it's like it would eat up my entire commission.
I just heard this last week, someone who's redone their commission schedule, knowing what your budget is to stage. Hey,
Right.
if we were to do this, we come in, let's give an example. We're gonna list it for 6 apples. But if we do staging, we're gonna do it for 7.5 apples. Or staging, helping you move, full white glove service, then we can do it for 8. And if you're gonna be moving locally, we'll do it for 9 apples, and we'll help you buy the next house and not charge you a commission. With the new NAR regulations coming in, you capture that on the sale of the house, and then you just cover them on the buyer side. So it's a way to elevate and provide that service so it has enough to cover your staging.
Bill,
I think that's a great idea.
Did you get a picture of that? Where'd you see that?
No, it was in a group conversation we were having last week, in a 1%ers group, and I'm like, that's gold. And they didn't go below 6 apples. So it's like, this is cool.
So that's something that I've been considering doing, is like the level, I think they called it levels of service.
Yeah.
And they had 3 different ones. But then I was a little conflicted because I don't want to do, so I need to think about it, but I don't want to do less of a service and put my name on it, if that makes sense. But I would rather do more, because it's, the listing is a reflection of me as well and how I market the property.
Well, right. But I would say everything you're doing right now, do at this is my listing rate and this is the services you get, and everything else from there is add on. I wouldn't do anything take away. And most people, when they have those choices, they pick the middle.
True. Okay.
Well, and I mean, I have one as well that's like, this is part of my like whole rebrand thing that I'm doing and offering some of these other things. One of them is like, if you want to list it at 5%, because so my market, we have a weird, in Ann Arbor, Dan will know this, like we have a weird commission scale. So most agents around here will list at 3%, but we also have this like weird, I was going to say a different word, but a weird commission scale where it's like it's like P3F2. So it's like 3% on the first 300,000, 2% on the remainder. And like the letter correlates with the dollar amount that the first 3%'s on. So like my listing or my offer I just got accepted the other day, it was like 3GF whatever. So it's like 3% on the first 400,000 and 2% on whatever the remainder is. So like you got to do a lot of math. It's very confusing. It takes a long time to wrap your brain around it. But it ends up kind of equaling out to like 5.5% typically. So
they feel like it's a deal because they're not paying full rate on everything.
Right. So, but I also have seen where the listing agent gets more money than I get. So there's ways that they work it to where it's more beneficial for the listing agent. So, I mean, if you're doing it for 8% or 7% or something like that, if you end up doing something like that where you're offering more, obviously, it's going to be offset a little bit. But I also struggle a little bit with like not wanting to necessarily go under 6%. But, in certain markets, you're going to be up against people. So I suppose you could say, all right, well, if I'm going to do it for less than 6%, what would you like to take off of this list? That, this is the standard of what I offer. If I'm going to do it for less, like I have to reduce some of my overhead costs as well. So where would you like to cut those costs? And
When
see
you
what,
do that language right, it becomes a takeaway. Okay, so which one of these services are not as valuable to you? And then we'll remove that. So
right,
that they feel like, oh, I don't want to take anything away.
right,
Right.
And that moves them back to listing at your rate. Some will take away, but for the most part, they're going to have that fear of missing out. So it'll
right.
support us.
Yeah.
That is true. Okay.
I have done the same thing with staging though, Nikki. Like I have staged houses myself. Like I've done whole house staging. Well, you know, when I say whole house, it's obviously not the whole house, but I've done whole house staging myself. I've done partial staging. I've done light staging. It's when it's like a vacant house that needs everything. If it's a
Yeah.
bigger, I don't have enough stuff for that. I had to get rid of
Right.
my couch that I was using. So like I lost my couch. I
Mhm.
like there was a lot of different things. So like
Inventory.
huh?
You need inventory for one like that.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't want to have to hold all this inventory, but like Skylar, one of the agents on my team, had a small house that he flipped and he needed staging stuff. So I was like, come to my house, go through my basement, see what you want to take. So he took
Mhm.
like, a rug, a coffee table, a side table, rugs, bedding, you know, like I have a
Mhm.
lot of the stuff for these things, but you know, it's not like I'm not full stager. And I do think that houses that have full staging, because and maybe we could have a discussion about this really quick. I don't like virtual staging.
No.
I think it looks great online, but I think it's a letdown when people come into the house. But there are
Yes.
some agents who really like virtual staging. And it's helpful in some aspects because it gets people in the door. But I feel like when you walk into a house and it is physically staged, it's a whole different vibe than when
Oh,
you
yeah.
walk in and you're like, oh, how is this set up again? And then they got to pull up the
Right.
photos. And
Mhm.
I feel like real staging is it is such a game changer. And it really, I think, amplifies, and I'm pretty sure there's data on this too. Your price point is going to go up because you're selling the lifestyle of that house. You're showing how it's laid out. You're showing how it lives and how it feels. And when you do virtual staging, you just don't get that. And a lot of time virtual staging looks funky anyway. You can almost always tell when it's a virtual,
Always.
like especially when it's like the floating chair, like you know, or like the
Mhm.
weird plants that are like in odd places. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't love virtual staging, and it's like it's $25 an image. So then you're paying, you know, I did virtual staging on a house because my client didn't want to do staging, and I paid, you know, 300 some odd dollars for the photos and then another 250 on virtual staging. So I'm already at like 500 some dollars just on the photos alone. So and I tried the free AI staging, horrible, horrible.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is dumb. I'm not doing this. So either way, I think doing actual physical staging with stuff, it's 100 times worth it.
I agree. People are visual. They want to feel, how the space feels. Does it feel too crowded? Does it feel too open? They want to see, what size bed can fit into this room.
Yeah, so I'll tell you guys a quick story. I know we're getting close on time here. I had a house. It was a little tiny bungalow. It was on the market for 2 months. This is a couple years ago, 2 months. It like maybe 2 months was dramatic. It was about a month. It was on the market. But all the feedback was it's too small, too small. I'm like, okay, this house is not that small.
Right.
So I went on Facebook Marketplace. I bought a couch. I bought a side table, like a buffet kind of table. I
Mhm.
bought a couple of fake plants. I bought on Marketplace. I bought a round kitchen table with 4 chairs, tablecloth, like just some random stuff.
Yeah.
I put all those things in the living room. I had 3 offers within a week because everyone could then see that
Yep.
I took new photos myself. I just took some cell phone photos, which, I preach against that, but I needed photos of the staged property. I put those pictures on there, 3 offers first week. Like that's how much, like that's exactly what sold it was the staging. People were able to envision Oh, a whole couch and an end table can fit on this wall. Oh, this is where my TV would go. Gotcha.
And
Like
it
you,
feels so much homier.
Yeah.
Even adding towels and rugs and things with texture helps an empty house feel warm.
so, and I know, Nikki, you probably do this too, but like, so what I do is I have 4 totes that I have my
Mhm.
stuff in. I bring my totes. In one of those totes is an air mattress.
Yep.
The air mattress goes on top of the 4 totes, and now you
Yep.
look like a full bed.
Yep, that's
Nobody knows-
exactly what I do.
Nobody knows the secrets. I've also seen where they do like 2 long folding tables and they
Mhm.
put that out. I don't know if that would like pass as well, but the air mattress works like a charm as long as it doesn't deflate.
Right. I always leave a what is it? A compressor
Yeah.
in the house in a
Yeah.
closet just in case.
I've had it where like I show up and it's like leaning. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And the note on the bed, please do not sit on this bed. It's staging.
Yes. Crazy.
So funny. All right, go ahead. Sorry. Oh, we're at the end of it. Anyway.
That's it. Yes, that is it. So, just remember you only get one opportunity to make a first impression. So that is very important. And let's see, what do we have? So next week we have Travis back on. He is going to be talking about commission income. So strategies for thriving in a fluctuating market. And then Nicole, do you want to talk about what Robin?
Yeah,
is
so
presenting?
Robin is actually somebody I went to high school with her. She's a lender now and she does some oh, look at the fancy slide. Isn't it cool?
Cool.
She's going to be talking about how to understand personalities and how to use them to build your business. So she sent me the presentation months
Okay.
ago. I looked at it. I was like, oh, this is actually really interesting. It's really cool. I've seen a lot of people who focus heavily on personality, quizzes and stuff like that, that help you understand how a person works. I actually I have somebody who I might have come on Modern Agent to talk about this because she uses it all the time with hiring people. She uses
Okay.
it for like, especially when you're trying to hire extra people. If you're trying to bring on admin or other staff, this is something that you should be doing. But this one is going to just talk about how to use them to build your business and understanding. It's kind of like that book, like Exactly What to Say. Have you guys read that book? Exactly What to Say.
Amazing. Yep.
It's so good. If you haven't, put it on your list. They have multiples, but like different categories, but there's one for real estate. It is so
Okay.
good. It's so good. Done. Yes. Like it's such a good book. Like I listened to it on Audible, loved it so much. I actually bought the actual book and I went through and like marked all the pages that I really liked. It's a great book. It's a short read, so worth it. But that like that kind of stuff. Anyways, so then we're going to have, the art of negotiation, and then on the 21st, and then retirement planning with Travis is back again. I told you he's going to be on here several times. So he's going to be talking about planning for retiring for realtors. So that's the joke, right? In this business, like you never go to a realtor's retirement
party.
go to their funeral. Like we sell houses forever until we die. But obviously, in real estate, you make pretty good money. So there's definitely ways to set yourself up for success down the road. So hopefully you can retire and, go live in that beach house somewhere and enjoy your time with your grandkids and all that. So, all right, guys, any questions? Like we could stay on for a couple more minutes if anyone has any questions or has anything that they want to add. Oh, I was going to show you guys the high note.
Oh, yeah, that's what I
Let me
was going
show
to
you.
ask you, Nicole,
Yeah.
about the high note.
Yeah. Do you have a
Okay.
question about it or you just want to see it?
No, I use high note also, but what I've been doing, because high note has a lot of good training. So what I've been doing is sending before the listing presentation, sending them a lot of this stuff already digital,
Yep.
right? So when I get there, they
Oh.
kind of know what we're going to talk about. Do you do that also?
So I don't do it all the time in this. I usually send it in an email, but a high note would be the perfect way to do it So I'm going to show you what I did with my client to help win this listing.
Okay.
Because this is essentially the same thing. So let me show you guys High Note. And I have a code for High Note if anybody wants to look into it. It's like $200 some a year.
I know, it's so worth it.
Totally worth it.
Totally
Yes.
worth it.
I can't figure out how to make this bigger because my screen now. Oh, wait, here, enter full screen.
And
Okay.
I use this for my buyers too. I use it for like follow-up buyers. I mean, it's so great.
Can you see this Berwick Drive now?
Yes.
Can you see
Yep.
that? Okay.
Yep.
Dan, don't try to steal my listing. Just kidding. All right. So this is so I was up against multiple agents on this property. So I talked about a little bit about me and who I am. I took a picture of the front of the house. I went over there and looked at the house previously, before I did this whole presentation. So I talked about my team, who we are, about our vision and all that. I have my listing presentation on here. So he could just open it up, look at my listing presentation, my seller's guides here, my marketing strategies here, my online reviews, some of the like photography that I do with my houses, and talking about like, my whole goal is that I want to make sure that the house looks great. Different properties that I've sold. There's links on all of these things so he can pull them up. Some of the things that I wanted him to address prior to selling the house. So concerns that I had in the house. So
Oh, that's great.
rotted wood on the outside of the house. There was a couple minor things in the house, like some water damage on a windowsill, a stain on a carpet. So things that like I wanted him to look at.
Address. Yeah.
Yeah. So I put all the photos in a Google Drive. So the link goes to the Google Drive.
Perfect.
Pricing, I talked about where I suggested pricing it. So then I can send this to him. And then the best thing is I have analytics, so I can see how long he's looked at this. So I can see if he's opened up my seller's guide and he's looking through it. I can see if he's opened up these things. I can tell how many minutes he spent on it. Just open it and close it. I can see that. So it's awesome to have all of this. So I do presentations on, my typical thing is like, you're selling Sandpoint or you're buying this house. Now what? So I'll show you what I do on this one. So this is for my buyers. So I put the information in here. I put the contract. So you pick these photos. So I just made these in Canva and uploaded them. Otherwise it'll just pick, if you put a website or something, it'll just show the website on here. But I created all these little like graphics for every presentation. And then I just duplicate each presentation and change it. So
I do.
all the contracts, every document that they sign, I put in a PDF and I upload it here. So they always have every document that they need. It's got the contract info, the earnest money deposit, where they need to take it, or if they're going to do like in this case, I knew that they were going to drop it off. Well, in this case, actually the title company still had it. So the information is there, but if they're going to deposit it, whether it's a check or ACH transaction, I have all that information right there. Inspections, I tell them what kind of inspection I think that they should have. And then we already had this one scheduled, so I put that info in here. And another one, if they have not scheduled inspection, I will have 3 recommendations in there so they can call them. I talk about how we're one big team with the title company, the listing agent, and the lender. So everyone's all working together on the back end to get them there. Appraisal, it'll talk about, appraisal, like what happens. Like there's typically takes a few days to get it ordered after inspection. It's going to take about, 7 to 10 days to get the offer or the appraisal back. I put all the information in there. So this is obviously tailored to this person's experience. Homeowners insurance. I have my homeowners people that I recommend in here. I tell them bundle your home and auto to save. Quiet time. This is one important thing because people always get nervous because it gets quiet between the appraisal and clear to close. So I always just say, hey, there's going to be quiet time. Don't worry. We're working on things in the background. Final walkthrough, turning on utilities, closing date, important information. This is one of my favorite ones. always ask your lender, like all the information. Don't buy a new car, lease one. Don't buy furniture. Don't do this. Talk to your lender. Like all the stuff. I have the 10 don'ts. So this used to be the 10 commandments of buying a home, but I was like, that's a little too religious for me. We're going to do the 10 don'ts of buying a house. So I changed it all to, don't do this, don't do these things. And then now they have all this information. I have my analytics, so I can see how long they're spending on it. Here's my favorite part. Let's say my client goes in here and I can tell that they're reading over the contract. They have a question. They're looking for an answer. So I can reach out to them and say, hey guys, just wanted to check in. Is there anything I can help you with? Now they're like, oh, weird. She knows, like, how does she know that we need something? So it's super helpful. This High Note has been super helpful. I mean, you can use this for anything. Kelly and Randy, my friends, they use this for their wedding. They put all like the wedding information, like where hotel you're going to stay in, flights, like all the information was all in here because they were doing a destination wedding. It was perfect. Then they had all the stuff in there. They didn't have to pay for a separate website. It was all on here. So I'll put
what does this look like on the client's end?
It's gonna look, well, here, I'll show you. So
It's pretty much the same.
excuse me.
Okay.
While you're pulling that up, I'm just imagining this is one more thing. If you have a town sites or you have community partners,
Yeah.
this is another place to show each one of them where you're promoting their services, their lenders, the insurance folks, the financial planners, because you're adding links and information here. So that's another value add.
So this is how it looks, Nikki. This is it's
Awesome.
exactly like this. So it just looks like a website.
Yeah, I love it.
Customize it. You can change this photo out. If you have a lengthwise photo of the house, you could put the house back there. Typically the MLS photos though, like spreads it too wide and it looks weird. So just depending on the house, you could always take a photo of the house when you're there and put it in here too. But it's got everything. So when they click on it, I don't want to click on their contract, but like, if it's image, let me see. I think all these are images, but if you click on it, like it'll say file in the corner or it'll say link, and then you can click on the link. So this is like, I swear by this program. I think it's one of the most helpful programs. It's awesome because you can present all you want. And then they also have like templates. So you can go and somebody can send you a template. So like Christine uses it. So if she wants to send me a template, she could always send me hers and then I could redo it to my own. But they have all these different templates in here that you could rebrand for yourself. So like over here, like you could see that all these people use it for different things. Whoops, I want to, oh my gosh.
On real estate. So they also have them tailored to each brokerage too.
Oh,
Yeah. So there's one.
Yep. So here's one like, so buyer presentation and agreement. They have Century 21. I don't know who Douglas, whatever is. Exit.
Alleman. They're out of California.
There's an EXP one on here. There's Keller Williams. There's like a whole bunch of different buyer presentations in here and different things. So you could go through and search through all of these. You could do wedding planning, vacation rentals, lending, like there's interior design. Like you could do so much with this. It's awesome. And like I said, it's like $200 a year. I'm going to find you guys my link for it.
Yeah, I would like that.
350 now.
Oh, is it? Did it go up?
Yeah, but you know what's great is the owner, what's his name? Choi?
Oh yeah, Mark Choi.
Mark Choi. He has monthly training classes. So he gets on there and he brings guests and he trains you and tells you what updates are going on. So if you have any questions, you email them. Their support is really great.
Yeah, and
That's
actually,
great.
so Randy has talked about coming back on here because we had Mark Choi on a long time ago on here.
Right.
Yeah, so he came on a long time ago when they had kind of just launched High Note. So we'll have him come back on and he can do a whole presentation on this, but I put in the notes my affiliate link. So if anybody's interested or in the chat, if anyone's interested, feel free, you can use that link and sign up. But we'll have Mark Choi back on and maybe Randy on to talk about this because I mean, you can use this for so many things. Like I had Julie Moratis gave me her listing presentation template and I just duplicated it. And now I have my own. So you can do that. You can share it with each other. It's kind of awesome. So another way to collaborate with other agents. So Christine, if you have anything good, send it my way.
I will.
Yeah, that
Great.
sounds great. Cool.
I'm gonna stop sharing here. Does anybody have anything else that, I don't know how to stop share. It's like, all I get is new share. Oh, there, stop share at the bottom. It was hidden. Does anybody have anything else before we close out today? Oh, Anne, I didn't even know you were on here. Anybody have anything else before we close out?
Yeah.
Nikki,
Go ahead.
your presentations, do you share those, sell them on Etsy or Canva or anything?
I haven't as of yet, but I would be open to it.
You just did a nice job designing. You and Nicole both, so.
Thank
Just
you.
kinda-
Well, Nikki's got that
inspiration.
interior design background too.
Yes.
Yep.
Creative. Sorry, Dan, didn't mean to talk over you.
No, you're good, man. I kind of want to touch on the staging thing. So I have a client that will be listing as soon as we can get them into a rental. They bought 18 months ago. Realistically, they shouldn't sell, but they've decided it's more than they want to handle. So he got his way when they bought the house. Now she gets her way when they sell the house. So she's made that decision for the both of them. But I know she was stressed out last time. They were selling and buying at the same time. That's why this time they want to rent and they want to sell it empty. I love that because I remember their listing and it would have been way easier had it been empty. I think it's like a family of 6 or 7. So there's just quite a few in there. They're going to be selling to break even, and we're still probably going to be at the top of what that subdivision development can get. How do you have that conversation on staging? I mean, it's a large house. It'll be, 620,000. I've offered to get professional cleaning for them, and I'll throw that in. That's no, I've offered that to them. Obviously, I've had multiple transaction sides with them, and I want to continue to nurture that relationship. But I can't offer to financially take on staging for them, but I think it will impact their house, especially when we're trying to get top dollar. And as of right now, I don't really have a comp that supports the dollar that we're going to try to get. So how do you put your best foot forward and have that staging conversation when they might not have it in the profits or in the bank to do it?
Well, you could do, so what I did last time, I have a guy, I'm going to send you a guy, because I have 2, I don't know if you have a stager, but I have 2, and they're pretty pricey. One of my other friends just sent me a different stager who is about half of what these other people were. So I could send you his info. But I offered to pay half, assuming that it would have been around a certain price point, and then it ended up being double what I expected. So I ended up saying like, okay, I'll still pay. I had already said that I would pay half. So I still offered to do it. They opted out and want to do the virtual staging. But I mean, that's another option for you. If all else fails, you could do the virtual staging. It would help for photos online. Obviously it's not going to help for that feel in the house, but you could have pay for a consultation for them to come and say, I'll pay for the consultation if you want to, talk to them about, staging, and, once we get the quote, we can discuss, like, maybe you pay up front and they reimburse you additional on top of your commission at the end. Or, I guess it depends on what your thoughts are on it. I mean, I know a lot of agents who offer staging as part of their commission. It's just something that they do. I know an agent who offers virtual staging for any of her clients who want it. It just kind of depends on what you want to do. Like you said, you've done multiple transactions with them. So does it make sense? Maybe you just pay the couple grand out of your commission and do it. Just kind of depends. Bye, Bill. Just kind of depends on what your thoughts are on the whole thing. And at the end of the day, what the cost is, the overall cost.
Gotcha. I mean, and I know square footage plays a role, but this is out in Lake Orion, so I don't know if your person even goes out that far.
I don't know.
But I mean, they bought at
info.
565. We need to sell at 620 pretty much for them to break even. Do you know rough cost ideas behind staging? I don't have a stager. It's not something that I've come across yet.
So I don't, because I think it varies usually on how many rooms you do. So
Right.
it's usually like if you're gonna do living room, kitchen, primary bedroom, dining room or something, it's going to be one cost. There's usually a minimum that they'll do. It
Okay.
just kind of depends. But
Okay.
the person who I recommended, I mean, I had 2 quotes from somebody for a condo, and one was almost $4,000. The other one was $3,500. And I was like, holy smokes, that's not what I was expecting. So turn around, and this other guy, I just referred him to one of my clients, and his estimate was $1,900, which is way more reasonable. That's more where I thought it would come in at. I thought it'd be around 2,000. That way I'd pay 1,000, they'd pay 1,000, we'd be good to go. I was totally cool with that because I knew in the end it would reflect better on the list price, on the offers that we got. So I was okay with that. And then, at the end of the day, usually you're doing 2 transactions with the seller anyway. So I figured I'd make it up in the end. But I will send you the guy's name, Dan, that you can reach out to him and just have a chat with him and see what they think about their, what their costs are.
Okay. Yeah, I'd appreciate that.
No problem.
Would you ever recommend that maybe the sellers just leave like a few pieces of furniture behind and you can just kind of do your own staging with their things to where like it's not clutter, it's not full, but like maybe if they leave like a chair and a table in the living room, I mean, that could be like a cheap way to do staging, right?
It depends on the furniture they have, because I've had people who've left furniture and it's like, they're like, oh, we're going to leave this couch here. And the couch is all raggedy and all that. Oh, or it doesn't match. It's not like neutral. So then it kind of like, it almost defeats the purpose. But I have left stuff in houses like that. I've used furniture that people had. I had a listing in Ann Arbor. It was actually expired. The listing expired. I took it over after it expired. And I couldn't understand like why the house wasn't staged, because the house, it needed it. It was a very, like they had a bathroom size rug in front of the couch. Like it just didn't make sense. The flow was off in the house. So she was a very minimal person. So she had like a futon couch, a dining room table, a little bookshelf, and like a TV stand. That's it. So I went out, I bought a rug, a coffee table, I bought a futon cover, I bought some pillows, like I put neutral bedding on her bedding, like on her actual bed. So obviously I had to wash it and all that stuff. I told her to remove it before she went to sleep, but like put it on her bed, put a neutral cover on the other bedroom set, which I got them at TJ Maxx for like $25 on clearance. It wasn't even much. And it's a write-off. So I have all that stuff. And then, so sometimes I will use what they have. If I can't use what they have, then, I'll say, okay, like just get all this stuff out of here. Let's just do it vacant. That'll be a lot better than using like raggedy furniture.
I agree.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I guess so. That might be the other question. I know you've mentioned you've picked up things off Marketplace and stuff like that. Like, is that something where maybe it makes sense to start looking for those items and it'll be a benefit for multiple listings down the road, and like just having those, like you've got your stash pile in your basement.
Yeah, I have a rug. I used it, and then Skylar used it on his listing for a bedroom. Like I used it in a living room. He used it in a bedroom. I bought a super cheap, coffee table on Amazon for $50, and it's so light. It's so easy to use. I went to Home Goods and I just bought like a couple end tables, a couple little lamps, like just like a little, like random things. I went to Walmart and bought, white towels, bought a couple bath towels, a couple hand towels, just to like zhuzh up a bathroom. Same thing at Home Goods, like a couple soap dispensers. So I have like one that's a little more colorful, one that's a little more neutral. So I have like a few things that I can bring in. I just have a bunch of totes. So I'll usually go through the totes, like decor too. I have art, I have mirrors, I have different stuff that I can, like, if there's an empty mantle, I'll put a mirror up there. I'll put a photo up there, and I just lean it. It doesn't need to be hung necessarily. If there's, a weird wall, I might, choose to add a piece of art or something. I mean, everything that I buy, I intend on like using it and returning it, but then I end up just keeping it because I need it. Like, I'm like, well, I'm going to probably need this again. Why not? I'll just keep it. So, you know, depending on what you want, sometimes I take stuff from my own house. Like I've taken pillows from my own house. I've taken like couch pillows. I've taken fake plants. I've taken different stuff from my house and just moved it to a listing and then brought it back. So just
Okay,
kind of,
yeah. I mean, and the
And just
garage
go
sale
shopping
season's
down
coming
the
up, right?
Cole's
So keep
house.
an eye out.
Sierra, what'd you say? I'm sorry.
And just go shopping in the Cole's basement.
Literally.
Right.
I have it all. I have so much. But okay, yeah, we got to wrap it up. I got an agent's been blowing my phone up, so I got to give her a call back. If anybody has any questions or anything, let us know. And then good luck on all your listings. And if you guys want more information about High Note, I did just reach out to Randy to let him know that we want them back on Modern Agent Blueprint to talk about High Note too. So, all right,
Thank you.
guys, have an awesome day.